Hello and welcome to another episode of Beth the Chef. I hope you all enjoyed last week with that cheesecake. And on with the next episode. So this one today is going to be a nod to my childhood. Childhood when I went to the sweet shops. And one thing I remember from the sweet shops is having big paper bags of peanut brittle. And another thing from my childhood is traditional lemon drizzle cake. Good old classic. So we're going to combine these two elements and we're going to do a contemporary twist, which this twist highlights sustainability within Cornwall and mainly across England, but it's getting introduced into Cornwall, which I will talk about later on in the episode. So, we've got a lot to pack in again. So, without further ado, let's cook. So, we are going to begin with our ice cream. And today I'm going to introduce you to the fresh, tangy Seabuckthorn berries. So Seabuckthorn berries are usually found upon the sand dunes in the east coast of England. But this is now expanding and a company called the Cornish Seaberry Company has introduced growth in Cornwall. So our first step is to heat our cream, vanilla and usually milk up. But instead of our milk, we are going to use our lovely Seabuckthorn juice. So in here is 300 ml of the cream, which is usually a can. And in here, 200 ml of the Seabuckthorn juice. Now, I'm going to add a splash of vanilla and we're going to put this on a medium heat. So meanwhile, that is in the heat. I've got 2.5 egg yolks in here and 75 grams of caster sugar. And all we're going to do is combine the two. And just incorporate them. Just to not have to mix it too much, just to mix the two together and it's a little bit paler in colour. Just give it a little mix while it's on heat. You should be able to smell the tanginess of those berries coming through. So we just want to take this to just before boiling point. So what we're going to do now is slowly incorporate the two. And you need to continuously mix. Otherwise, the heat won't distribute evenly. And that's where your curdling would occur. And we want ice cream, we don't want sweetened scrambled eggs. And go gradually as well. As you can see, I'm doing it bit by bit here. Should be able to feel with your whisk as well when it's incorporating. You won't feel thick on the bottom. We are, so it's returned back on its low setting. And I'm just gonna still continuously mix, but just gently. And we're just looking for the mixture to thicken up a little. Essentially this will happen at about 80 degrees. But you're essentially making a custard. Ice cream is frozen custard. So I'm just getting my bowl and a sieve ready, and that will all make sense in a moment. We are just taking off the heat. So you're looking for the consistency to be a bit thicker, essentially like a custard. And I'm just gonna pass it through. This is just in case there are any little bits of egg that haven't been incorporated. Also, just transferred the ice cream mix to the tub, and I'm just going to let this cool down, and then we're going to pop in the freezer. Because this is no churn recipe, we have to stir it every hour, just so your ice cream sets right, so it doesn't essentially set rock hard. And this should take about at least 7 hours. Right, so for the brittle, I've just got some greaseproof paper on a tray, on a flat tray, and I've weighed my bowl out. So in here is 50 grams of pistachio nuts. Now these are already roasted, these ones. And 25 grams of sesame seeds, because it sounds a bit sad, but one thing I remember from my childhood is eating those sesame snaps, those snacks you get. I think you can still get them, maybe in Holland and Barrett or somewhere like that. And all I do here is disperse them all along the flat tray. Make sure they're evenly spaced. Right, so in here there's 200 grams of caster sugar, and I've just got this on a medium heat, and just keep an eye on it. Whatever you do, don't stir, or you will end up with crystallization in your caramel. Every now and then you can move the pan to see where you're at. But yeah, just keep an eye on it. Whatever you do, do not walk away. Because from experience, I thought, oh, this is taking a while. I went to the toilet, come back to puffs of black smoke. So word of advice, go toilet before. As you can see, it's starting to liquidize and get that colour. Now, when it gets to the stage you want, you have to be quick, but you're just gonna pour it all over your nuts. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Pour it all over your sesame mix. I know you guys are dirty out there. And just leave it to cool at room temperature. Now I'm just gonna show you a little trick for zesting a lemon, because one mistake people make is they get the white bit as well, and that will alter whatever you're making. It will make it taste a bit bitter, essentially. So also a microplane like this is great for it. This is just from Pro Cook. So Pro Cook online, or if there is a Pro Cook store nearby, I'm pretty sure they'd have them there. Just think of it almost like you're brushing hair, and just go around the lemon. That way you will get the good amount of zest off without getting the white bit, because I see a lot of people tend to just, and yeah, you'll get all the white stuff that way. So just a little trick for you guys at home. Right, so I've got all my ingredients here ready for the sponge. There's 225 grams of caster sugar, 225 grams of softened at room temperature unsalted butter, 225 grams of self-raising flour, 2 lemons, which I've zested, and I've zested a centimetre square piece of fresh ginger, which will make our sponges that little bit more fragrant. 4 eggs, some vanilla extract, and some baking powder. 2 to 5 grams of everything. But a little trick, if you ever want one, is crack your eggs in a bowl, weigh them out, and essentially however much your eggs weigh, it's just the same of butter, flour and sugar. So a little trick for you there. So like any other sponge, I'm going to start by creaming the butter and the sugar together, just with a fork. And you can use a mixer, but like we mentioned before, I like to get a feel for the cake more. Feels like a little bit more of a connection. And just cream together till incorporated. We are. So now we're going to add our eggs, and I add 1 egg at a time. And just incorporate it. Now the mixture will end up looking a bit loose, but it'll all get back together and create a batter once you've added the flour. There we go. So now I'm going to add my flavourings. good splash of vanilla. A zest and ginger. And baking powder. You won't want too much. About a third of a teaspoon. And then you gradually fold in the flour with a spatula. And usually to help bring it together and create a moist sponge, we know we all love that word, moist. I usually add a splash of milk, but to oomph the flavour, let's say, I've got the juice of one of my lemons. And we're going to keep the other lemon and its juice for the drizzle later on. And grease your moulds. Now I've got my seal spray again, but as long as it's greased well, butter and a little bit of flour will work just as well. Fill your moulds up about 2/3 of the way, and then it's going to go in the oven 180 degrees. This can vary in time, so check them after about 15 minutes. So once your sponges are out, let them cool down for a little bit, for about 10 minutes. And take them out the moulds onto a cooling rack. And because they're greased well, they should just pop straight out. Also, when your brittle is nice and set, get a knife and cut the shards. Now for the drizzle, I've got juice of my remaining lemon in here, and I just go by eye, but I'm going to add a teaspoon of icing sugar at a time and mix it in well. And you're just looking essentially for icing, a nice thick white paste. Right, so this is the kind of thing you're looking for. Just essentially a white paste. And I've got my piping bag ready, and I'm just going to put it in the piping bag. So all ready to drizzle along our sponges. So our sponges have cooled down now, and I've got my piping bag. Just want to cut a very small hole in the end. And we're just going to drizzle. This is the fun part. on each one. Yes, I should have mentioned this, but make sure you've got some paper underneath. Unless you like cleaning up icing. Now what should happen here essentially is the lemon juice to soak into your sponge, creating additional moisture, and the icing almost create a little shell on top. Right, so now we're ready to assemble, and just going to do a wash of our ice cream. So what you need is your spoon, a tablespoon, or if you do have a wash spoon, even better. I'm going to add that to my Christmas list. And some hot water. And you just keep dunking in and use the edge to get your shape. Now this is quite tricky, but practice makes perfect, and to be honest, it is a lot easier with an actual wash spoon. We're getting there now. And to assemble, I have my lemon sponge. Just get this into and a little bit of our brittle. There we have it, our lemon drizzle sponge with our Seabuckthorn ice cream and our nut brittle. So spread the word, Beth the chef, and join us next week, because next week we are going to be inspired by the Christmas markets of Blackpool, the Christmas by the Sea. And we're going to do Yorkshire puddings with curry breakfast. Bon appetit!